Since I've been living in Paris part of each year, my Parisian life has been the object of much fantasizing. So many seem to have the impression that I spend my days here lingering in cafes and wandering around art museums, or that the experience is a kind of extended vacation. So, here's the real scoop about my life in Paris while here.
I think one of the things that might surprise people the most about my Parisian life is how little free time I have while here. This is largely because being a resident in a foreign country isn't the same experience as being a tourist in that country, and when I go to live abroad, many of life's daily tasks become more time-consuming and challenging, certainly more stressful, at least for the first several years. Another thing about my Parisian life that might surprise is that much of my time here is spent doing the very same things that I do at home in Seattle. I'm partially housebound due to illness. I grocery shop, wait around for the plumber to arrive, dash into the mobile phone store when they inform me that I need to present more identification papers or they'll cut my phone off. I go to healthcare appointments, work on my blog, and get together with friends. A chunk of each day automatically gets siphoned off to health tasks, just as at home. For instance, stretching my feet on a tennis ball, soaking my feet in hot water to reduce pain and inflammation from all the walking here, doing acupressure massages to help my various health problems, sorting medication into boxes, and so forth. I have so many health tasks each day just to be able to function that I have a daily checklist to keep it all straight. Some of my health problems get worse in Paris. For example, I suffer from almost daily headaches and nausea because of alignment problems caused by all the walking I do here. I catch colds and flus much more often, and they quickly begin turning into pneumonia, which requires even more healthcare appointments. The first year that I lived in Paris, sometimes I fought depression because the experience not only wasn't turning out to be like the extended vacation I thought it would be, but much of my life had actually gotten harder in such a foreign land and language. But a turning point occurred when I decided to let the experience be what it was, rather than focusing on what it was not and how it wasn't measuring up to my dreams. Soon after I made that shift, I began appreciating the wonderful parts of the life I was creating here. It also changed how I approached daily life. I decided that if I had to spend so much time on life's mundane tasks in Paris, I could at least try to appreciate and savor some of the details that make those chores different from home. So when going to healthcare appointments here, I now take the bus so that I can see Paris's magnificent sights along the way. My acupuncturist is located just off the square at Saint-Sulpice, the church featured in the best-selling novel The Da Vinci Code. So I take a moment after my appointment and sit in that square. I now cultivate delight in the small details that make doctor appointments here different from at home, instead of focusing on how much more stressful it can be to seek health care in a foreign land. For example, to enter the offices of many of my healthcare providers, first I enter a security code at the entrance and then step into a courtyard. These courtyards were built hundreds of years ago to allow people a safe place to alight from their horse-drawn carriages into their homes, away from thieves on the street and away from the muddy road. I now even savor the elegance of some waiting rooms here as I wait for my appointments. When buying my food, it adds to my pleasure if I frequent farmers markets and small food shops and take the scenic route to get there.
Bonjour, monsieur. J'aimerais bien 2 tartelettes à l'orange, s'il vous plaît.
Along the way, if I pass by a church as its bells happen to be tolling, I sit down and take in the spontaneous concert. Then, just as I do at home in Seattle, I work on my blog and videos. I have classes and tech support appointments at the Apple Store, located at the Grand Louvre Museum, where musical bands sometimes play during the lunch hour. Paris has had a housing shortage for a long time, so finding short-term affordable housing that works for my health has been incredibly difficult. Each time I go to Paris, I live in 4 or 5 different apartments. I don't know how you can manage to lose most of your shirts while moving around, but somehow I've managed to do it. I was glad to discover a man here named Randy Garrett, who owns a moving business and a van, which he calls the Chariot of Art, because my 5 suitcases crammed with all my healthcare needs don't easily fit into the small taxis here. But there are 2 aspects of daily life here which are quite different from at home, and they are the main reasons why I'm willing to go to so much trouble and expense to live here. First, I get to have a more normal life in Paris because I'm in generally better health here, mainly due to the lower level of chemicals in the food and air, at least in the chemicals I'm sensitive to. And secondly, I have a much more active, diverse social life here, and it's certainly more spontaneous. Very few of my social events here seem to get set into stone on the calendar more than 3 or 4 days in advance. About half of my friends are French, and the rest hail from all over the world, a fact which still surprises me, because Paris can be a rather closed society. Most of my foreigner friends here, who have lived in Paris as long as 30 years, do not have any French friends. Half of my friends are women and half men, and they range in age from 20-something to 80-something. Mostly my friends and I meet in cafes over a drink. Sometimes we take walks in parks or peruse a book market. We'll often go to art galleries and exhibits or explore some part of the city. Recently, a friend and I met in front of the Bourse, which used to be the stock exchange, and he showed me some historic covered shopping arcades. Another friend recently showed me around a vast park with a waterfall, and we walked up a bridge to a bluff topped with a pergola.
I love how my Parisian friends don't tend to jam-pack their days as much as we Americans tend to, and that they tend to be much more available. They value relationships so highly. I spent much of my childhood abroad, living in countries where relationships are a priority, and I treasure being back in a country with these values. Would you like to know why I love my home city, Seattle, just as much as Paris, but for different reasons? Then watch my video, The Grass Looks Greener on the Other Side.